I could speak for hours about Michael, as he has become a very close, very good friend. Michael was one of the group of young British artists who came to prominence in the 90s. Tracy Emin, Damien Hirst, that group. He really became famous in 2001 with his project Breakdown. And I was really fortunate to be able to see that. I came on a business trip to London and arrived straight from Sydney on a Sunday morning. I was reading in my room, Sunday Times, and in it was a description of an artwork opening on Oxford Street in a disused department store by an artist called Michael Landy. It sounded fascinating. So I thought, I'll have to have a look while I'm in London. Being jet-lagged, I woke up early in the morning, and I knew our office wouldn't open before 9 o'clock. So I thought, I'll walk past the project first thing Monday morning, around 8 o'clock. And they were just setting up, and it was all closed, but it was already full of attendants and workers. So I knocked on the window, and they said no. But I kept knocking, and they still said no. So I took out a piece of paper and scribbled that I'm from Australia, and I'm going back that afternoon to Sydney. Could I please come in? Which wasn't quite true, but the technique worked. So they let me in, and I met Michael. They had a whole arrangement of conveyor belts and probably at least a dozen assistants, all in blue overalls. And everything that Michael possessed, from his birth certificate, driver's license, passport, to his car, were eventually destroyed over the period of the project. But everything was painstakingly stock taken, so they knew what they were destroyed, and then the shredded bits were put into bags. The concept was incredible, and the mechanics of it, the execution, was excellent. And it had a fantastic reception. I went back several times during my 3-4 days in London, and I asked him, would he like to bring this project to Australia? And he said, yes, but I destroyed everything. I can't do that again. But how about I destroy everything that a collector possesses? I said, no, let's think of something else. So he did come to Australia, and again, he's an artist who has full of ideas, but really very off left field, far left field. There's the longest straight road, I think, from South Australia to Western Australia, 100 miles uninterrupted straight road. He wanted to put a turning point in the middle. It sounded great. He said if you do it rightly, you could see it from satellites flying over it. But of course, we just couldn't get permission because there would have been too many accidents. The other one that he seriously proposed is making the opera house disappear. Now, one of our tasks at art projects is to take artists' proposals seriously, regardless of how left field they are. And I contacted the optic professor, the physics professor at University of New South Wales, saying, how could we make the opera house disappear? And he said, to make the opera house totally disappear would be just impossible. Then another one, Michael was fascinated by our real estate ads. he thought they were really wacky. So he came up with this project of building a tower of these McMansions, which he saw, but putting one on top of another. But not just theater sets, but proper houses, a tower of them. I went to a builder friend of mine. Be more expensive than a skyscraper because each house he wanted different. So we had 3 great ideas, none of them which we could do. Came up with an idea of which he did already a version in the London Underground, Your Act of Kindness. And we used buses, ferries, trains to ask for small acts of kindness in the CBD. Something like somebody standing up for an old person, or dropping a purse and finding it, or a phone. And we recorded 600 acts of kindness. And we selected the 200 best and where they occurred in the CBD. And Michael designed an enormous jigsaw puzzle. And the jigsaw bits we placed on the street, on lampposts, on buildings, as close as possible to where the act of kindness took place. And the culmination of the project was an enormous map in the middle of Martin Place, I believe 13 meters by 17 meters, where all the jigsaw puzzles came together on one big map of the CBD. The project was opened by the Lord Mayor Clover Moore. It had a great atmosphere. People could walk on it, some people roller skated, others danced on it in the evening, and it became something that hundreds of thousands of people saw it over its 3 weeks incarnation. And Michael made a very interesting comment, which I'll read to you. An act of kindness is something exchanged fleetingly between strangers. You will probably never see that person again. So, we did temporary work with momentary act of kindness. Very appropriate. Michael and we stayed in touch, and there will be a lot more about Michael in future projects.